Om Sarvadharmastapakatvam Sarvadharmaswarupakaha Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. O establisher of all the faiths, embodiment of all the religions, the greatest teacher among all the teachers, O Sri Ramakrishna, my salutations to you. And Sri Ramakrishna teaching Sri Vijay Krishna Goswami and other very intimate devotees and disciples who have gathered on this weekday of the December 1882. And Sri Ramakrishna telling that for Kali Yuga, the best way to have the realization is path of bhakti. Path of discrimination, the path of Jnana Yoga is not at all ideal for the Kali Yuga, where we are so much attached to the body, where we are so much attached to the senses, to the sense organs, and also to the sense objects for that matter. So better not to get into that practice, better not get into that mode of discrimination of I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am the Brahman, everything else is false, everything else is unreal. That is not a healthy attitude for today's age, Sri Ramakrishna says. Better get into the mode of surrender. Get into the practice of surrender. Surrender yourselves at the feet of the Lord. You are the master, I am thy servant. You are the mother, I am your child. You are the Lord, I am your devotee. Get into this. Become humble child of mother. Get yourself free from all the attachments to the three gunas like the child. Don't get attached to sattva, rajas, tamas. Don't get attached to any of these worldly attachments. Your attachment should only be with the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the only attachment. That is the only point of surrender for you. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, that is the way that you can attain the realization. Now again in devotion, Sri Ramakrishna says, devotion is not just a plain devotion. Unless and until we get Prema Bhakti, we get raga-bhakti, the intense yearning, the intense longing for the vision, we cannot have the vision. Before that, we have to start our devotional practices. And Sri Ramakrishna says that, now he further elaborates on the path of bhakti. Sri Ramakrishna says, there is another kind of bhakti. He has told us about the raga-bhakti, the Prema Bhakti, which can take us to the knowledge of the Lord, which can take us to the point of realization of being one with the Lord, which can take us to the Brahma-jnana. But Sri Ramakrishna says that is the ultimate on the path of bhakti. There is another kind of bhakti that is called as vaidhi-bhakti. One starts the spiritual practices, the devotional practices with vaidhi-bhakti. And what is vaidhi-bhakti? Sri Ramakrishna says, according to vaidhi-bhakti, one must repeat the name of God a fixed number of times. Chant the mantra, say 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 1,00,000 times. Chant the mantra, keep yourself a target. Okay, I am going to chant my mantra these many times, morning and evening, or morning, afternoon and evening and night. Keep yourself a target and start following that practice. That is one aspect. One must repeat the name of God a fixed number of times. Keep fastings on Ekadashis. There is a tradition in the Arkya order that we follow fasting on Ekadashi days. So keep fasts. Keep your body under kind of discipline that on such and such days I won't eat anything. Or such and such days I won't eat these things. On such and such days I won't even drink a drop of water. Get into the practice of fasting to discipline your body. And then make pilgrimages. Go to pilgrimage centers, go to this place, that place, worship the God, worship the images, see that, mix with the holy people, worship God with prescribed offerings. So all these practices, Sri Ramakrishna says, make so many sacrifices and so on and so forth. So many practices you can follow, the ritualistic devotional practices, these are called as. So that Sri Ramakrishna says is the vaidhi-bhakti. By continuing such practices a long time, one gradually acquires raga-bhakti. First, to start performing all these prescribed ritualistic practices, And then a stage comes when you start giving up these practices also. You're giving up this the ritualistic mode of worship. Then you go beyond that. In order to realize, God cannot be realized until one has raga-bhakti. One must love God in order to realize God. one must have that intense love, intense longing, intense yearning to have the vision of God. One must be completely free from worldliness and direct all of one's mind to Him, not in bits and pieces. The mind should be offered to the Lord, to be surrendered to the Lord in its totality. All the 100% of the mind should be surrendered to the Lord, not in bits and pieces, not 5%, 10%, or not even 99%. Sri Ramakrishna says 100% of the mind should be surrendered to the Lord. Direct all of one's mind to Him. But then Sri Ramakrishna says, again, like some of those who follow the path of discrimination, like Shankaracharya, even there are some few fortunate souls, the free souls, who attain raga bhakti just like that. They don't have to follow any of these prescribed injunctions of the devotional practices, the vaidhi-bhakti. Some acquire raga bhakti directly. It is innate in them. They have it in the form, they have it from their very childhood, like Bhakta Prahlada, like the saints and sages that we see around us. They have this innate bhakti right from the childhood, right from their birth they have. Even at an early age, they weep for the God. An instance of such bhakti is to be found in Prahlada, the great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Although born in the family of Asuras, the son of Hiranyakashipu, right from childhood, right from birth, Prahlada was so much devoted and dedicated to the devotion of Lord Vishnu. So that these are the rare exceptions. Otherwise, for the normal course, for the ordinary souls, it starts with following the ritualistic practices. Doing japa, doing worship, keeping fast, doing puja, doing offerings, going to pilgrimages, and then slowly get into that mode of getting the intense desire. Now I don't want to do any of these things. I don't want to do japa, I don't want to worship, I don't want to keep fast. I just want to see your lotus feet. I just want to be with you, O Lord. I don't want anything else. Give me the vision. I'm not in a... That is the stage when the devotee transcends from the vaidhi-bhakti to the raga-bhakti. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, vaidhi-bhakti is like moving a fan to make a breeze. It is hot here. I need some kind of a breeze, so I start fanning myself. Sri Ramakrishna says, vaidhi-bhakti is like fanning yourself. For you need the breeze. One needs the fan to make the breeze. Similarly, one practices japa, austerities and fasting in order to acquire the love of God. These all the practices are to acquire the love of God. The only objective of doing japa X number of times, the only objective of keeping fast, the only objective of performing austerities, the sadhana and other spiritual practices is to obtain the love of God. In order to acquire love of God. But the fan is set aside when the southern breeze blows off itself. When the southern breeze blows off itself, then you don't need the fan to blow air for you. The moment the southern breeze flows off itself, you keep the fan aside. Now you don't need any of these spiritual practices. The raga bhakti, the Prema Bhakti has sprouted in your heart. Such action as japa and austerity drop away when one spontaneously feels love and attachment for God. Who indeed will perform the ceremonies and join its scriptures when one is mad with love for God? When one is in that stage, when one wants nothing but the vision of God. God give me the vision, God give me the vision, God give me the vision. Then one goes beyond these rituals, these practices, these traditional devotional practices which are set to gain that love. Once that love is reached, you don't need any of these, superficial things. You don't need even practicing japa. You don't need worshipping the God. You don't need to go to pilgrimages, keep any austerities, do any austerities, keep fast. Nothing is required. Sri Ramakrishna says, devotion to God may be said to be green as long as it does not grow into love of God. Till the time it is at the stage of vaidhi-bhakti, it may be termed as green, but it becomes ripe. Till such time, vaidhi-bhakti, it is unripe devotion. But it becomes ripe when it has grown into such full love for the God. Then it is ripe bhakti. Till then, it is kacha. It is green. It is unripe. A man with green bhakti cannot assimilate spiritual talk and instruction. The man who is constantly busy in performing these devotional practices, he is not able to comprehend. God is like this. He is always, all the time busy in performing these ritualistic practices. He cannot assimilate spiritual talk and instructions. But one with the ripe bhakti can. Once your green bhakti, once your unripe bhakti gets transformed to the ripe bhakti, once you go beyond the spiritual practices, the ritualistic worship mode, once you get over that, then you can assimilate, then you can understand the spiritual instructions, then you can follow the advice, the spiritual talk which someone gives to you. The image that falls on now Sri Ramakrishna, he had once gone to, he was curious to know how they take the photographs. And he had visited a photographer. And he had seen, now at the house of Balram Bose, which is now under the, it is one of the ashrams of under Ramakrishna order. There is a section where, they have displayed the photographic equipment which Sri Ramakrishna had seen. Sri Ramakrishna had understood the process of photography. He had gone to see the photographer, his studio, how they make the photographs, how they develop the prints. Of course, those days, the practices were very much orthodox, were very much, nascent at that stage. Now today, for taking a photograph, we don't need the photographic plates and all that. We just, with mobile phones, we keep on clicking selfies and photographs. But Sri Ramakrishna had gone there to a photographer, seen how the photograph is taken, how the film print is developed. And now that example Sri Ramakrishna is giving. Sri Ramakrishna had this knack. Whichever thing he saw in this worldly context, he used to immediately relate it to the beyond. So Sri Ramakrishna says, the image that falls on a photographic plate covered with black film is retained. Now there used to be a photographic plate. That photographic plate was covered with a chemical. It was the silver nitrate, and it looked black in color. So Sri Ramakrishna didn't know all these technicalities of silver nitrate and all that. But he says the the image that falls on photographic plate which is covered with a black film, that much he knew. Such a image can be developed into a photograph. If that black film is not put on the plate, if it's just a plain glass, Sri Ramakrishna says that thousands of images may be reflected on a glass, on a bare piece of glass, but not one of them is retained on that plate. Not one of them is retained on that the plate coated with silver nitrate, the black coated plate. Ordinary glass, there will be thousands of images can be displayed in the glass, but not a single one will be retained. But the moment a photographic plate has that lining, that covering of the black layer, the image is retained on that plate and it can be developed into a photograph. As the object moves away, the glass becomes same as it was before. Without that layer, without that black film on the plate, there won't be any retention of the images. Thousands of images may be brought in front of the glass. Take them away, the image also is gone. But the photographic plate with the black layer, it will retain the image. One cannot assimilate spiritual instructions unless one has already developed love of God. Once we get into that mode of raga-bhakti, once we evolve ourselves from the vaidhi-bhakti to the raga-bhakti, then we don't need any of the ritualistic practices. Then we are safe in the hand. Then we have that photographic plate. Then the image is permanently retained there on that plate, and we can develop as many photographs as we want. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna has to say to Vijay Krishna Goswami on the path of bhakti, how one starts with the vaidhi-bhakti and then transcends on to the raga-bhakti. Once that raga-bhakti element has come, then there is no more ritualistic worship as such, no more ritualistic devotional practices, no more chanting of the names, no more performing puja and arati and sandhya and doing austerities. All these things, they leave behind. Now there is only intense love for God. Now there is only intense desire to have the vision of God, and that is what makes us surrender in totality. 100% of the mind is then surrendered to the Lord, not in bits and pieces. So that is Sri Ramakrishna's teaching on the difference between the vaidhi-bhakti and the Prema Bhakti. So our intention, our objective, our ultimate goal is to gain that Prema Bhakti and get into that stage of developing intense yearning for the lotus feet of our mother. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swamiji.